Every morning you have one of two choices: to manifest progress or to get up and attain it. Sunrise Thoughts, brought to you by 348 Select. On today's episode of Morning Brew, a Winning Routine, we are joined by Masonwabe Ntloko, here to give us his insights on how to brew the perfect work environment for success. With every episode, we aim to inspire. My guest today is the outcome of dreams with the topping of reality. A few years in, and he's already laid the foundation to an ever-evolving career. Primarily being a graphic designer, to me, I view him as one of the best marketing minds of our time. In him understanding design, he understood brand identity and how to expand it to the point of being indelible and truly South African. The art of being true to your roots and blossoming like your future is what anchors Masonwabe, from branding companies to musicians, all the way to his personal body of work, which has come in the form of rugs and various other collabs. One thing that's consistent, more than his branding, is the product selling out and every now and then crashing the site. In recording this episode, the key takeaway was creating your own roadmap and being mindful enough to ask for directions when lost. Thank you, Masonwabe, for joining us on today's episode of Morning Brew, hosted by myself, Ulwazi Madonzel.
You're the chosen one. The hood illustrator, coming through with the Goku illustrations on the road. You're coming through in your book, scrapbook, and then you're like, no, actually, I'm going Super Saiyan. I'm going to be 21st century black man. What's the transition? From I'm scribbling, say, yo, I'm that dude. Because, we all draw on the road, bro. On the walls. The whole Goku era when you used to do the hair like that.
Yeah. The transition, okay, let me think. I think for me, the transition was understanding that this is what I was put on this earth to do. Do you get what I'm saying? Understanding that this is who I am. This is the one thing that I've seen that I'm really good at. So I need to take it seriously. Do you get what I'm saying? So now, obviously at the time, I didn't even understand the concept of branding. I didn't even understand logos and all these things, but I've designed where it was more or less like a graffiti tag, Then obviously you get into university. Then when you get into university, you start learning about like branding, like serious things. And from there, obviously before there was the 21st century black man, there was a brand called Red Life, which never saw the light of day, but everyone knew about it. Because for me, I never acted. I was never an aspiring designer. I was always a designer, just at a lower level. Do you get what I'm saying? So I always treated myself like a designer. So I was always just there like, you know what? This is who I am. This is what I want to do. And I need to start doing it now at a high level. Obviously, the skill didn't match the confidence at the time, but eventually, they started making sense together.
So we're always watching a podcast and going back and forth with information and relaying a lot of stuff. There's that one line Wayne always says, do one thing right and everything else will fall into place. What do you think you've been doing right to get to the person you are at this current moment?
I have a few things I've been doing right? But that line goes to a particular skill, right? Because I'm going to make an example of how, for me, a lot of the things that I say now are things that have actually happened to me or things that I've learned over time. So, for example, when I moved to Joburg, I was doing everything. I was in front of a camera doing photo shoots. I was illustrating. I was doing everything. Yeah, well. And the thing is, when you put in effort in different things at the beginning, you don't end up perfect, or you don't even end up getting to where you want to get, because you have 24 hours, for example, right? And within that 24 hours, you split 2 hours into each thing that you do. Now, every single thing needs at least 4 hours a day. So you end up now not moving from where you are away. You don't get to where you think you should be. Not because you're not good, but because you have so many other things that are distracting you from just doing what you should be doing in order for you to progress. So that line basically just means that. It means, okay, you can do all these other things. I don't believe in that thing of people saying, you're a jack of all trades, master of none. I don't believe in that. But I do believe that in order for you to be a jack of all trades and even master all of them, you need to master one skill first. Then that's the skill that's going to be your entry point to the industry. Then from there, you can do whatever you want to do. So for me, I think skill-wise, I'd say actually the one thing that I did very well outside of skill was respecting people. That's the one thing that I did very well, because I've said this to you before, but I've never asked for a job from anyone. I've never sent anyone a DM, yo, let's work. Everyone comes to me because of the reputation I've built. So I'm not the best friends with most of the people that I work with, but they understand that one, I will deliver on time. Two, I will over-deliver in terms of the quality of what they were expecting, right? So for me, that was the one thing that I was focusing on mostly, to go, okay, what's the level at which South Africa is operating? Let's operate a level above, because we are competing at a global standard, not a local standard. You know? So for me, the one thing that I'd say I did well was just designing, bro. Like, you know, just telling myself, because for me, what happened was I was like, okay, let me just zoom into one thing. And the one thing that I zoomed into was designing in the music industry. That then came with money that I then started investing in my own things. Now everything is coming full circle in everything that I had done then and it failed because I was focusing on a lot of things. Now I do, but now I'm doing it because I have a point of origin or point of what's the point of departure? Yeah, my point of departure and my foundation is very strong into that one thing that I did, which then injected money into more or less everything that I do now. Then now, funny enough, it's not the one thing that makes the most money, you know, but because I just sat down and it was like, this is what I'm going to focus on. It gave me the power to do the things that I do today.
So you do this music thing. You do the music thing. It funds your first show, the portraits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And from the portrait gallery show, you graduate to do more music stuff, higher level, more brand work, get blessed with Yogi Sip, goes even further, you host your own show. Now you broke the internet, 48 hours, sold out drugs. Bearing in mind, everyone gets drugs now, but you sold out drugs. You sold out drugs, right?
Yeah.
And all of that, How do you practice creative restraint? Because I mean, you go from illustrating Casper to then designing the album art for Good for That. You, whatever, everything keeps tying together, right?
Yeah.
In time, how do you practice creative restraint? Because most people, when we get the opportunity to say, I'm working with this person at this level, you're like, nah, I'm gonna go fully and let me pitch my whole brand identity. Whereas with your work with Zuchi, it was like, we understand that we're doing this project and we're doing this project for this project. How do you say?
Yeah.
Let me not go above and beyond.
Okay, I think
Above.
I do go above. So basically, this is how this works. When I came into the industry, it's like I see a lot of these younger guys, younger than me, who, from conversation, you can see that they sort of kind of trying to challenge you in the thinking that they're better than you at doing something, right? And I'm always just there like, there's a reason you're where you are and I'm where I am, right? And the reason is you start understanding that there's certain things that you're not doing for yourself. An example of this thing is, if I sit here and I create something, like when I do these illustrations, this is for me. Here I can do whatever I want, right? One. Two, the reason why I got into the industry was my Instagram account when I still used to do the whole flying thing. So I can do the cool, crazy things. I can do that, you know? I can do it to the highest level. But at the same time, I need to start understanding now the fact that this is not what they want. They want what they want. So I need to respect what the customer wants. You get what I'm saying? Because now this is business. This is not, I'm not doing this for expression. I'm doing this because it's a business. So if it's a business, now everyone always says the customer's always right. And technically, yes, they are. Sometimes you might not really agree with how they see the thing, but at the end of the day, it's their product. They're the ones who have this product. And you can always put in your 2 cents on trying to make this thing look better as compared to what they would want or what they initially wanted. Yeah, well, but the truth is they always want what they want. So it only makes sense for you to remove your feelings from the process itself, because now you end up being like, I was at a point where I was really down and sad because the industry didn't want me to do the cool things that I wanted to do. And that happens. But the more things happen, you just learn restraint to go, okay, in order for me to not get too heartbroken here, I'm not going to go on with this crazy concept. I'm just going to ask, what do you want? You know, like as the person who's hiring me, paying me for this thing, what do you want? When? Then from there, the conversation becomes, oh no, this is what I want. And I'm like, okay, cool. Then let's do that. Instead of me sitting here and going, yeah, no, but sometimes that's what it is. So that's how you learn restraint. You learn restraint by understanding that you need to do what is being asked of you. Then eventually, crazy enough, you then start exercising your creative abilities because people trust you more. Because you've delivered what they asked for. So now when you want to deliver more than what they asked for, they don't have a problem with that.
Okay, cool. So
I don't know if I'm answering.
You get into the room, you practice creative restraint. But now you're this guy. You're this guy, you worked with Yogi Sir. I mean, the bill has gone up. As Fred Joe would say, yesterday's price is not today's price.
It's not today's price.
How do you maintain pricing in terms of like, yo, bro, we've been working with you. Now you popping, you tripling the price. Because you know, that's the culture. I'll do one job.
You know what it is, man?
They're like, bruh, I want to charge 5 million.
Nah, let me tell you one thing, right? Because there's 2 separate entities. There's Create Studios, then there's Masonwabe Ntloko. Masonwabe Ntloko is a very expensive brand. If you come to me and you want something, have good budget.
What's good
budget? Right? But at the same time, no, I'm gonna respond to that. But at the same time, as much as you need to have good budget, I'm also a person who has foresight in seeing what something can do. So I have done deals that I'm not, how can I put this? That don't make a shitload of money. You know?
Immediate returns.
I've done those. Yeah. But you understand that, you need to understand that there's different currencies when you operate in any industry. So you might have things of monetary value, but you might have other things. So I'm also a person who's relationships are the most important currency in the industry. So I need to understand that sometimes when I get into things, it might not make the most money, but I know what it's going to do for me in the future. Do you get what I'm saying? And sometimes the one thing that a lot of people don't seem to understand is that I'm going back to the pricing thing. The one thing that most people seem to not understand is that when you do things, you are increasing your catalog, right? Because I always say, I've said this to you before, that do the work that you want to get hired for. Sometimes the work that you want to get hired for might come from a person who doesn't have the crazy budget, and you feel like you're worth this. Yes, you're worth that, but realistically speaking, are you really worth that yet? No, because also we always price ourselves above what we actually are worth in terms of, because also how do you judge someone's worth? You judge it from the work that they've done. You judge it from how people feel about the work. You judge, there's a lot of things that go into that. So now when you sit down and look at it, you have the talent, but we all know talent is not enough. Talent is not the most important thing, as much as it should be, but it's not. So that means you can't now judge your rate per whatever based on just your talent alone. There's other things that then add on to, because now that means if your talent level stays at one level, that's what you're going to charge for the rest of your life. But now, because your brand is growing, you as a brand are growing, like there's so many other things that play into this, you start going up in terms of pricing, right? But as a business, it's a different story. As an individual, you can do one thing, then that one thing, based on how good your PR is, then your pricing goes up. It's like even with music, like a rapper will come in saying Klambi a verse is 5,000. And then they blow up during the course of the year. Towards the end of the year, a verse is like 80,000. I'm making an example. You see, as an individual, you can afford to do that. Okay? But as a business, there's a specific business model that you need to go by, because now your business is built on creating ongoing relationships with various companies. So you can't be unreasonable with charging. You can't now, if you were charging, let's say you're doing an album cover and your album cover is the lowest price, I'm probably gonna say like $500, right? And then you continue doing your work. And then because you feel like, no, your value has gone up, now your album cover is 10,000 Rand. Do you get what I'm saying? That's not how it should work. The smartest way to go about it is you still keep that at that price. But because now these people trust you enough and you understand that there's more that you can bring to the table, you increase the money that you're supposed to be getting based on now the other things that you put in. To go, no. Design is equal to $500. Then, because now I come up with the concept development and all these things, then this is 1,000 Rand. Then now, if I'm the one who's going to put this project together to get you a photographer, to get you this, to get you this, to get you this, then that now is being a producer. So now you have to, and now they're going to understand where you're coming from, especially now because you don't present yourself. The other thing is that you never present yourself as an individual. You always present yourself as a company. When you present yourself as an individual, they're looking at the money that you are getting as it just coming straight to your pocket. But if they understand that this is a company that might have overheads, if you charge this amount of money and you break it down on why, eventually you don't have to break it down, to tell you the truth. And when you're starting, you have to break it down because it's like, who are you to be charging us 5,000 Rand for a single cover and there's no digital assets, there's no all of that. So now it becomes a thing of, then the conversation is you had an entry point, right? Back to what you were saying, you had an entry point, then you build from that to go, this is what I do, this is what I do. If now you're a person who really wants to make a ton load of money, the smartest way you can also just go about that is you then bring in your own people. Then they give you the price that they charge, then you just charge a bit above that. Then you're still making profit. The work that they're doing, but you are not, everyone is getting what they deserve. That's another way of going about it. Yeah, well.
No, that's well explained, because I find that 90% of the time, it's like you're gradually growing, right? The quality increases. But the problem is that now we want to charge 5 million because like, it is 5 million. Everyone knows it's worth 5 million, but we no longer have the entry point because now I'm deterring the people who are funding me to begin with. Now they can't even approach me anymore because my price is here. Now we're only dealing with
you see, that's the thing. That's the thing. And also I think when you're developing business, you need to be very mindful of chasing away people who genuinely care to pay for your services, but at the price at which they understood your services to be. Obviously, eventually they're gonna, when you get, this is what I used to do. When I would drop like let's say a cover, an album cover, and there's a conversation, I'm like, hey, let's say an extra 200, you know? So you can still raise your price, but don't raise it like a crazy person. That's another way of going about it. Just because now, obviously, you're invoicing in thousands. Yeah, you're invoicing in thousands anyways. You're invoicing in thousands. But also sometimes, actually, this is another thing. The people that you started with and you work with, let's say the first company that invested, like believed in you, not invested, but believed in you enough to say, this is the product that we want from you, and you keep doing that with them on a regular basis. And you understand that these people are more or less your bread and butter. I personally did not mess with that for a while. So my standard price was my price. I understood that, let's say a month, I'm making a good 20K from that company alone. Do you get what I'm saying? Obviously it's gonna, but I'm saying on average.
Yeah.
Sometimes you could just make 5K from that company, but you understand one thing, that you work well with that company. Yeah, bon. Then everyone else that comes and goes, now you're gauging how much you should charge. And you go, okay, if you're charging that company 1,000 Rand, you go, let me try 2.5. Because the catalog says I'm worth 2.5. That's a new customer now.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, okay. Then they take it because they see that you're worth that. Then now what ends up happening is that you need to start having a conversation with now these people to go, guys, this is where I am now. And this is the quality at which I'm operating at. And this quality means that I should charge this price. They will not understand, because you always find out that you were cheaper than all the other guys anyways, you see? So, and just do your industry research, man, on how much people charge.
One thing we forget when doing creative work is that the customer is always right. Do right by the customer and meet their standards. Once they trust you, that's when you can introduce new ideas and add-ons. Creative restraint allows for maintenance and creative capital. The business is never about you. Masonwabe had to separate passion projects and the business in order to be financially viable. When dealing with clients, make sure to meet their goal and price according to your catalog, as well as the client's budget. And most importantly, make sure to over-deliver. The best way to get new work is through well-done old work.
How do you manage quality control? Because you're hot right now. You're hot. Like, when you're hot, when that signal is out and now you're charging 80K every gig. You're hot right now. How do you maintain quality as a creative? Because some people work off inspiration. I know you to work off like deadline. That's how you function.
Yeah. I work on deadlines. I don't. Hey guys, you have when your life is not making sense yet. That's the time you should gather all the inspiration you need. Then after that, you have no time to work on inspiration, because what happens when So I'll say, as an illustrator, I'm at a very good position right now. I'm the guy that more or less people are talking about, right? My thing is, because I understand that what I'm doing is not a trend, right? I've learned, I told myself that I should operate outside what's trending, the cool things, right? That means whenever I put out something, it's still gonna get the reaction that I want regardless. So, for a simple example, I dropped the rug. And then I said, I'm gonna drop another rug. 2 months later, the rug is not out, right? But when it comes out, guess what? The reaction is still more or less gonna be the same. And that's only because, one, I understand the fact that my things take time. I'm not one of those guys who are gonna blow up and be super big in one day or overnight, or it never really happens overnight. But I'm just saying that there's a time where people just find out about someone and then it just goes, but obviously those people were working, don't get me wrong now, but how it looks like an overnight thing. I'm not one of it. That is not something that will probably happen to me. And who my market is right now, my current market, not my desired market, my current market right now as we speak. I understand that I'm still catering for the middle class / lower class, right? As much as I would like to cater for. So how I do things needs to also make sense for them, the customers. So when I put things out, I can't put out 3 projects that require people to buy something. And my thing has always been, just take your time. Take your time. You are not a trend. And because you're not a trend, whatever you put out, like for an example, like I look at myself as your Gucci's, your Louis Vuittons. I'm sure you've had this conversation before, where it's like, regardless of what happens, Louis Vuitton will be Louis Vuitton. Even if they don't release clothes this year, like a new set of clothes, when they release, they'll still, you get what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to be the hottest guy today and then, I'd rather be at the same level and slowly just grow and then not be able to maintain that. I don't know if I'm answering you, but like...
No, you're answering me fully because you're giving the wider scope, right? So with all the shit we do, right? Because we aspire, we create, and then we project.
Yeah.
So I feel like whatever you release as an artist, it's your projection to the world. How do you then between the breaks, like you've mentioned, the 2 months in between the first job and the second job? How do you equip yourself as a freelance artist to say, yo, I'm gonna be financially stable, even if they don't drop?
You need to learn how to save, man. People need to have a better relationship with money. You know, this would be very long if I'd really just break down how I understand the concept of money, right? And you know, and I learned this from my parents, you know, from their mistakes. It's not like they set me down and, you know, because I realized one thing. I was like, yo, these people are always complaining about how much money they don't have, and then you start realizing that it's because they never really recovered from the decisions that they made when they were younger with their money. You see? So you find out that, for example, people are paying credit cards, they're paying jet accounts, they're paying, you know, there's so much that they're paying.
They're paying for the couches that have holes now.
Yeah, you see things like that. So you start realizing that people love money they don't have, you see? So my thing has always been, I always say this, live the life that you can afford, that you know you can afford, not the life that people think you can afford. You see? So from that, you just really start understanding that. I think the shortest way to answer this is it's really just about knowing who you are. Knowing who you are and knowing what you're good at, knowing what you know, because the moment you start understanding who you are and what you're good at, you start understanding that you don't have to do everything else, right? Like, I when we have conversations, I always say this to you, but I'm not the freshest guy who's gonna walk into the room. Like, I'm not gonna have the freshest clothes. I'm not that guy. But at the end of the day, everything that the freshest guy gets, I can also get. Yeah, but so it makes zero sense for me now to go out of my way to be someone else when being me is okay. Because you're just being yourself. Like, there's a lot of things that I think are really stupid that I do, but I love them. But somehow people gravitate towards me because of those things. So the moment you just start really realizing who you are, you stop spending outside your means. Then now you can afford rent. You know, you can afford, you know, you're not being kicked out and asking people. Like, there's nothing wrong with people asking for people, like asking for money when things are bad. You see things like that. You're not that guy, because you understand the fact that, okay, realistically speaking, I could make 50,000 this month, right? 67, even that month. So I need to be able to stretch this money out. Do you get what I'm saying? So you can still, no, don't get me wrong now. You can still buy all the cool things that you want to buy, but just understanding the fact that I might not make this money every month means I need to be very careful of how things go. So for example, some people do this. I used to do this a lot, where if I get a big check, I'll pay like 3-4 months in advance of rent. Then I know rent is not a problem. Now, all I just do is just focus on all the other small, minute things. But really, more than anything, man, it's really just knowing who you are and knowing the things that you actually love, so that you don't have to spend outside of, and just understanding that you can't now fall into certain pressures that, you know. Yeah.
No, I hear you. We creative beings. We figure this money, you figure yourself. Because I feel like the moment where you figure yourself, there's a quote you always bring up. Your mother said it is about know where you come from, know who you are, and understand the situation at home. And
back home, yeah.
Yeah, you need to understand the whole, your 360. And understanding your 360, that inspires your creative, your outlook to your background.
Yeah.
Where you come from. That's why you can tap into the Xhosa in you, the stuff that inspires you, like your rug collection was based off your family members.
Yeah.
How personal does it get for you to create?
You know, to tell you the truth, man, honestly and truly, I'm a guy I wasn't exposed to art when I was young. I just knew that this is what I wanted to do. I'm not a big fan of art. if that makes any sense.
Don't collect art.
I didn't say I don't like art. I just said I'm not a big fan. So I'm not one of those people who, like, man, art consumers. You know, I'm not. I'm not one of those.
You're a keeper. Everything that you have is you. That's it. And
you see, so no. But the thing is, man, you know, when you say things like that, people start thinking that you're a narcissist and you think you're better than everybody, and that's not the case. It's just, like I said, I didn't grow up around these things. Yeah, I really didn't grow up around these things. So the love that people have for art is the love I have for music. As much as I can't make music, but I can really appreciate music. Like, I'm one of those people who can break down everything to go this and that and that and that and that, you know? And for me now, having to really look at art on a professional level, on a this starts when I'm doing my first year, you know? Before that, hey, bro, I didn't know other people. I didn't even know there were other artists. Like, I know people always talk about your Picassos. I remember someone at school used to call me Picasso. I had no idea who the hell Picasso was. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I didn't know. I could hear it on songs, you know, but I didn't. Nothing really pushed me to go research about Picasso because, like I said, the most important thing to me at the time was music. So I always researched things that were music related. So there was this guy who always used to say, hey, Picasso. And I'm like, who is Picasso? And you know, you laugh it off, acting like you know what someone's talking about, but you have no idea. So then, basically, where I'm trying to go with it is that I didn't understand a lot of things that had to do with art. I understood a few things. Myself, music, where I come from, how I was raised. You get what I'm saying? So it was a thing of, okay, I like creating this art thing. You know, this is what I'm passionate about in terms of doing. I don't understand it to the fullest extent. So that's why when I make references, I always make music references or some rap saying this. You'll never hear me say, hey, Vincent Van Gogh did this, you know? Because I'm not...
There's this thing, Jay-Z always says it. Not always says it. It's one of my favorite Jay-Z songs. But I think of you, the more we have conversations, the more you align. It's like he's projecting who he's about to be, right? And I feel like in your art, in your messaging, you're always trying to project who you're about to become. Hence, from the 21st century black man, you could see that you're about to be this guy and you're growing into this. And then Ilifale too, as you take into consideration where we're coming from to then create what's next for us. Né? So on what more can I say? Jay-Z is like, there's never been a nigga this good for this long, this hood or this pop, this hot or this strong, with so many different flows. This one's for this song. The next one I'll switch up. This one would get better. These fucks too lazy to make up shit. They crazy.
You see,
don't paint pictures.
Yeah, no, but look, man.
That's it. Like I see, that's you. That's where you at.
Now, no, look, man. Let me tell you something, right? And I always say this to people. Everyone will always tell you how simple what you do is, or they can do it. It's very easy imitating people. It's very hard finding your own thing. I'm gonna make an example. Migos. Everyone always used to go, no, Migos, no. I'm like, you can do it, yes. But how are you not coming up with your own thing? You see? That's where the problem is with a lot of people. Everyone will always tell you, no, I can do this. I could also do that. But you do what I do, I'm gonna do it for you. Né? But how about you sit down and invest time into building something that's yours? Then now you start really understanding that, okay, actually building your own thing is harder than just talking about who's doing good and who's doing bad, because everyone has an opinion. Now, obviously, not everyone's opinion actually matters, you know? But it's okay. People can feel like their opinions matter, you know? It's okay. But realistically speaking, there's so much that people can learn from people who are actually doing things. Before you walk into a place, like, you just need to, and I've said this to you before, that I always look at people and I'm like, someone will go, nah, this is what I do, this is hard. And I'm like, and then they'll comment on your thing because they always want to do those things. Or, I would have done this, but you're like, you're not the one doing it. And there's a reason you're not the guy. There's a very solid reason. And one of them is that instead of doing, you're talking.
You're not the guy.
You're
Almost every creative makes the most money from their first official idea. Taking time to brand yourself pays off more than interpreting what's hot in the market. When you've solidified your identity, you can then expand it into many mediums. As we've witnessed with Masonwabe, from using the patterns on a rug all the way to a Markham's shirt, mastering and evolving your idea carries you and promotes you to parts you never thought possible. So when you're creating, make sure you create to your brand identity, because that's what will stand out on the market.
So, what's the objective? Masonwabe Ntloko from Create Studios. What's the objective in everything you do?
to create cool shit. And to have access. That's it. Like, it's not that deep. It's I understand everyone's gonna tell you that, no, hey bro, realistically speaking, I just wanna enjoy my life and do the things that I love and have access to do some of the things that I love. So if I wake up tomorrow and go, this is what I want, I can just, so out of nowhere I go, hey, I feel like I wanna do a shoot with Pharrell Williams, right? I can just wake up and do that. That's all I want. You get what I'm saying? That's all. That's literally. But now, obviously, that I'm not naive about the money side of things. Now, don't get me wrong. I still will want to get paid for those things, the right amount of money. I'm not naive about those things. Don't get me wrong now. But for me, the most important thing, like I said, is just enjoying also life, man. Like, I'm now at a point in my life where I'm understanding that there's so many things that I deprived myself of when I was younger because, one, I was trying to look cool. Two, because I didn't have the privilege of getting certain things because I don't come from a rich family, Like, bro, I was looking at Varsity. People used to sing Amagwijo. I love those things, but I didn't do it because I thought I wanted to be the cool guy.
You had the fame. You were fresh.
Yeah, so
Dan Smiths, tailored pants. You were that nigga.
So you see, but like, I didn't do the things that I wanted to do. I didn't do the things that I wanted to do because I wanted to be, the guy who stands on the wall. That's not who I am, bro. Like, I want to do shit that I like. So now I'm at a point in my life where I'm doing the stuff that I want to do, So if I feel like this is what I want to do, let me do that, And that's what I want to continue to do for the rest of my life. And that's, for me, the goal, I don't care about being the number one. Because also you find out that you're putting up more numbers than the number one. So
on that ego note, like a true Kanye fan, you dropped out of college, my nigga.
But I went back.
Like a true Kanye fan, you dropped out of college to go intern. You were paying it forward. Yeah. How important is paying it forward for you?
When you say paying it forward,
because you jump out to do an internship to get exposure to Joburg, to then work with your then mentors.
Yeah.
Do you feel
okay? I need to.
Person today.
Yes. Look. Yeah. My way of looking at internship is a bit different from what everyday South Africans feel internships should be.
Yeah,
I personally feel like.
You talk about the concept of buying time with internships, education.
Yeah, not that yet, but I'll get to the concept of buying time. But for me, the most important thing is, if I had a child and my child goes, hey, you know what? I wanna be a broadcaster and Lwazi owns this big company. Bro, I wouldn't mind paying you to teach my child things. Yeah, well, so me going into the internship, I wasn't expecting to get paid, number one. Let's start there. I knew that I was the one learning here. As much as, yes, my energy is going to be used, my resource, like basically I'm going to be working here. I would have understood if I didn't get paid. It would have been okay for me because I understood that I was getting things that I am going to use for the rest of my life, right? And also, I think it mattered to me because that's the only experience that I had where I worked under someone, worked under people. I wasn't the superstar, I wasn't the most important person in the room. I was the other guy, like I was the other guy that I was always just trying to show customers my work and they didn't really care, man, and that's okay, because that wasn't the space that I had created for myself. Because that's another thing. Sometimes people fail to understand that the opportunity, like sometimes you don't get opportunities from jumping onto other people's, I'll say waves. I hate the term waves, but on jumping on other people's waves. Do you get what I'm saying? You have to create your own opportunity. Then that opportunity creates more opportunities for you. So that's also something that I learned at the time, because I was thinking, I'm here, bruh, I have 6 months. After 6 months, I'm going to be hot because everyone comes here. Like every celebrity comes here, and all I just need to do is just get the right guy. And they go, this is fire. And then I move, right? And it didn't happen like that. And that's what that's what I learned from that experience. To go, my journey is my journey. And it's not attached to someone else. So I need to create the things that I want to create, how I want to create them. But like I said, they're not attached to the next guy.
Sheesh.
Yeah, am I back?
Yeah.
Sorry, I got a call. But yeah, so that's really, for me, the one thing that I learned from that, man. Also just learning how business works on these things, like actual business, to go, okay, A plus B equals to this, then this equals to that. Because I just realized from that experience alone, I realized that most of us are going about this the wrong way. We don't understand the actual, because the people who are supposed to show us are not telling us the truth. They're not showing us the right way of doing things, which is why now the industry is not at a level where it should be, because we don't have superstars anymore. You have a few people who do cool things, but they're not at the level at which the people who came before us. Yeah, like they're not at the level at which our OGs are at or were at when they were around the same period of their careers. And people are still doing big things, but it's just somehow it's not converting to be a bigger thing. Do you get what I'm saying? Like it's not because the blueprint that we've been given is what is hindering us from getting there. The blueprint that our OGs gave us is not the actual blueprint, which is why I always say, why bother acting like you're teaching if you know that this is not how you got there? Do you get what I'm saying? Like just let people be. Like just let people be, and then they figure it out themselves. But now people are not succeeding because, one, obviously the industry changed. While if till now we were like a plane, the plane took off. Then while it was in the air, things just started getting like messed up.
Started raining. The pilot jumped off.
Yeah, now so pilot jumped off, the engine is not working. So now you have to fix this engine and drive this plane while it's in the air. You see, so that's what happened for us. But then that's not a problem. This we can maintain, we can make this work. But now the destination that we were shown is not the actual destination, or how to get to the destination actually is not the right way to get there. So it takes longer for us to get there. But even when you get there, the extra points that you should have gotten along the way, you didn't get because you were focused on what this guy told you. And then you listen to these talks, which is why now my most important advice to people is don't listen to people. Just do what feels right to you. And then you just ask questions here and there about things that you don't understand, but just do what feels right to you. Because this thing of sitting and wanting to do it according to so-and-so's blueprint when it's not an honest one. Because this is most importantly with the Black people, you know? But yeah.
Whew. Now that was powerful. I'm grateful. That was dope. I think more than anything, if anyone watching this is gonna learn, it's just the mere fact that you gotta do you, but you gotta understand in doing you gotta play long term. Because
long game.
In the journey that you are taking, you are very conscious of the mere fact that today's bread might not be there tomorrow. So with that, just want to say thank you for this interview and shout out, and hopefully your artwork is not fucked up. Yeah.
No, it's not.
Anyways,
don't do drugs, kids. That's how I end everything. Do not do drugs, kids.